Hey guys, John here. Today we are in Pigments 5, and today's patch is called the Dark Sorceress, and it sounds a little something like this. So yeah, this one's fun to play. It is kind of a little stylistic playing type. You kind of have to do a little bit more staccato, right? Because the whole thing about this patch is there's this delay response, which is this third macro right here. So, right, so you kind of have to play around that whole thing. Okay, so let's get into this here. This one's actually surprisingly easy to make. So let's load up a fresh new copy of Pigments here and go to File, New Preset. Okay, so for this guy, let's go to the synth engine. So we're really just only using the sample engine, some filters, one random here, and then for the effects, nothing too crazy. So like I said, this one's pretty simple, so it shouldn't really take you too long to make. Okay, so going up here, I guess we can just turn off this wavetable engine and then go to the sample engine, turn this guy on. Now, the sample that we're going to be using is this female C3. So let's click this here, and that's going to be in the Pigments 5 category. So where is it? Female C3, which is this one right over here. So we can double click that, and here we go. So the start position for this is going to be 0.220. So we can go over here and go 0.220. There we are. And then we are using granular here. So let's turn this on. And then I don't remember if I may move some of these things. I kind of move a lot of these knobs while making some of this stuff. I don't think I did any of this stuff really. Yeah, that looks a lot of default stuff. Like I said, this one's pretty simple. So with this patch, we kind of have something like that. So now we kind of got to work on the envelopes a little bit. So our attack is going to be 383 milliseconds. 383. There we go. And then the attack curve is -176. -176. I always like doing that little curve there. Feels like it helps a lot. The release is 2.57. 2.57. There we go. Art even sounds pretty cool right there. That's because this is actually a pretty cool sample. So let's go into the effects and see kind of how this is, or we got to do the filters first. Okay, so the first one is the MS-20, which I'm sure you guessed it. Here we're not doing too much, so this cutoff manually is going to be 1350. So let's bring this to 1350, something like that. But we do have a macro here, which is the low pass. So let's grab this one and drag and drop, and then let's see what we have for the depth. If we click here, we have 0.44. So we can adjust this to 0.44. And then while we're here, it's 0.55, we got to be exact. There we go. And let's double click this and put cut off dash LP. Okay, because we're going to be kind of doing two different cutoffs here. So that's this guy here, low pass 12, no keyboard tracking, no resonance actually for this one. That's kind of all we really have to do. And this macro here on this one is pretty much all the way up. So let's kind of leave that up for now. And then, so filter 1 is going into filter 2, which is going to be going into this multi-mode of this high pass 12. So let's turn this on, and then we have the multi-mode. Let's click this, and then down here, high pass 12, let's select that guy. And then on our cutoff, we have 150 hertz. So let's bring this down. There's a lot of low-end boomy stuff that's kind of gross in there. And then no resonance for this guy, no keyboard tracking, but we do have a macro at 0.25. So we can grab this one and drag and drop, and that's pretty much all we got to do. And then this value here is going to be at like 0.396 out of the box. So 0.396, something like that. 0.3, oh my goodness. Here we go. 96, there we go. Okay. Now we have to label it because it'll be confusing if it's just macro 2. So cut off dash HP, high pass, or hit points, health points, I don't know. So this is what we have right here, mapping those filters. Yeah, so it's kind of that creepy, almost in a cavern kind of sorceress dark way. And it's always nice to play something like this kind of creepy vibe in a harmonic minor scale. Kind of really adds to the character there. Okay, so we have this part done. Yes, one thing that we do need to do is this voice pan. So this is kind of cool. So if you notice on this patch here, let's turn our effects on, so it's kind of cool. Whenever we're hitting notes, this random is basically triggering this voice pan. So it's a random choice wherever the vocal is going to be in the stereo field. We can kind of watch this thing move around. Where are we here? Oh, we're out in the old one. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Yeah, so every time we trigger this here, this is going to be moving. It's kind of moving throughout the stereo field, which is actually pretty cool. So we have a lot of vocals kind of going that staccato way. It's kind of like this, a lot of vocals just surrounding you. Like there's more than one person, more than one vocal. Yeah, so that's pretty cool right there. So let's turn these effects back off and then target this guy again. So if you look on this one here, we're not even using any unison. It's pretty basic. We are doing a little bit of high pass, so 30% over here, so might as well do that over here. So 30%. So we should be pretty close here. But now we just got to do the voice pan. So we're using a random one, so we can drag and drop this here. And if we look on this guy, let's kind of check out this random, see what that's actually doing. This is going to be sample and hold and then re-triggered from the poly keyboard, meaning that every time we hit a key on our poly keyboard, it's going to re-trigger a new random value. So it changes from Turing to sample and hold, and then change from legato, then we can go to poly keyboard. So now it's starting to take that effect. Definitely pretty cool. And then for this guy, I believe we were doing 35. So this one took a little bit of time to dial in right because you can go way overboard on the panning. So it's like super left, super right. And it's kind of just disorientating. Is that the word? Disorientating? Maybe it is. Disorientation. I don't even know. Anyway, let's go to our effects and see what's going on here. Not too much. So we have an EQ, a multiband, pitch shifting delay. Now this is kind of where the whole fun happens, and then another delay to kind of wrap things up, and a shimmer reverb. So with that being said, we can turn off our aux, turn off FXB, and then check out A and see what's going on. So if we target this guy, and then we turn off the pitch shifting delay, the multiband. So this EQ is just getting some of the gross mud. It's kind of catching what this filter here is not really catching entirely. So those are kind of working in the same kind of concept. So now we have a multiband on here, which really does some magic to it. And the only thing I really changed is increased this high band just a little bit there. The rest I kind of left alone. And it makes it very crisp. Okay, so moving on from here, this is the pitch shifting delay. Now, this is kind of where this magic happens here. Actually, we should start even, let's just start making these things because it's a little bit easier to follow along once we're making this together here. So on that EQ, we are going to be on a frequency of 270. So let's bring this one to 270, something like that. And we're really dropping this down by like 4.81 dB so that we can do a little cut right there. And that should be about fine. So the next one is the multiband, so let's go ahead and add that while we target this guy. So we have the multiband down here. And this here, I kind of brought this guy up just a little bit. Nothing too intense there. And then the next one's going to be the pitch shifting delay. And like I said, this is where the whole fun happens. So if we look here, the whole idea is that we have no feedback. So it's really just doing one of these delays. So we target this guy. So it just hits that one delay. And that's that kind of call and response. So basically this pitch shifting delay is kind of the whole trick up the sleeve, right, of this patch here. So we're on a time of 1/8, so we can bring this over one click here. And for the spray, you can really leave that by default. It's not really too important for this patch. But what is important is this is going up by 1 octave. So let's bring this up by 1 octave. Now, this is a choice for you to make because I tried this one on 7 semitones up, so a perfect fifth, and it actually does sound pretty cool. But the more you start adding notes, I think the octave sounds a little bit better. So we can kind of test both of these and see what we feel. So for the dry wet for this guy is manually going to be at about 50, but we are on a macro, which is kind of a different value. So let's go ahead and map that. Okay, so this macro 3 is going to be at 50%. So macro 3, we can drag and drop this here at 50%, something like that. And then let's put this delay. What did I, response? RESPONCE, whatever. Okay, so we have this delay response here, and this value is probably somewhere up like that, I would think, right? Something up there. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we are targeting the right one. Now we are. Okay. So here we don't really need any feedback. We can bring that down. So it just hits one time. Right, something like that. And then the stereo detune is really up to you. You can bring this high pass up a little bit to get those lows out, and then the low pass is about like 10K or so. Something like that there. Definitely a lot of fun. And then for the FXB, we have a delay, which this guy's kind of just picking up a little bit extra where that left off. So let's load in a delay right over here. So click here, delay, and then this one is going to be here. This one is going to be a 16th note, so we 2 clicks over here. The feedback's kind of all by default. Most of this is default. It's kind of just set on there just to kind of extend this range, I suppose. Okay, so that's pretty much all we have to do for the FX A and B. And then now we're going to the aux and enable post effects because we want the reverb or the shimmers that we're going to put on here to be processed after all this stack over here. So in our aux, we can change out this reverb to a shimmer. And if we look at this guy, basically what's happening, if we look at our feedback, it's kind of like default, but our pitch shifting is going to be an octave, which also kind of plays off the delay octave as well, which is kind of cool. And then bring this up somewhere right here. That can be quite a lot of fun there. So we are also doing this on a macro 4 at 0.72 here. So we can bring the send down, drag and drop macro 4, 0.74, I think I said, something like that. And then we can label this reverb or shimmer, whatever you want to call it. And then for our master volume, we are at -12. I don't know if that, yeah, we did bring this up just a little bit, -12, something like that. And that's pretty much all we have to do for this patch. It's actually very simple to make, and it's actually really cool. When I was making it, I was like, man, I think I need to add some more stuff. And then there comes this point where you don't always need to add more things to make a patch better. Sometimes it makes it worse if you add a little bit too much. So just a quick walkthrough of these macros are pretty self-explanatory, but just in case, we have the low pass. If we kind of want to like bring this into a song, and then kind of bring it all the way to the top. Then you get those crisp highs. We also have a high pass here. All right, so it kind of removes that low end. And it becomes very thin, and the reason for that is because this is probably not the only thing that's going to be in a track. There might be some kicks or bass or something else underneath it, maybe even a weird kind of creepy pad. So this is an instant knob to give you some instant room for that. So you can dial in that knob wherever you would like to. And then we have the delay response. If you don't like that at all, we can drag and drop this here. And it's just the voice. Which is cool, but that delay response is also pretty fun. Right, it's a lot of fun there. And then the last thing that we should do, the reverb is pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to show you how this pitch shifting delay can be kind of interesting if we bring this down from an octave to 7 semitones. So it's kind of cool. It really depends on how you want to do it. I kind of left it on the octave because I think that's a little bit of a better mileage, I suppose, but that's totally up to you. And keep in mind, with this type of patch, you really have to play it correctly for it to sound right, because if you just hold on pads and move stuff, it can get really cluttered sounding. So it's a lot of articulation. The Dark Sorceress is sensitive, right? She needs to be played the correct way. But yeah, anyway, if you would like to get this patch for free, there's a link in the video description below, and it can be yours. Keep in mind, this is for Pigments 5, where the new samples are now in here. So if you're still on 4, you might want to update before you install this this preset. Also, because we're using the post effects as well, so that's another feature that is in 5, that's not in 4. So yeah, if you haven't updated, update. If you want the patch, download it in the in the video description below. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.